Hello there, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Clay's Couch. I'm your host, Clay D, the one and only, coming at you the best way that I know how. And I am privileged to be welcomed here tonight by another fellow podcaster of mine, Sophia. Good to have you on the virtual couch tonight, Sophia. How you doing?
Doing good. Yeah, I'm excited to see what comes up and what we talk about. So I'm excited.
Yeah, definitely. So, Sophia, I definitely what caught my eye is that we both work in similar professions. We both work in sales. So obviously my route and path is a little different for sure. And obviously you are a sales development representative, and you also have your own podcast called The Shit Show of My 20s, if I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Yes, you are.
Okay, good. Now, can you just tell me, what is The Shit Show of My 20s about? What is your podcast in particularly all about and all?
Yeah, so I started it over 2 years ago, and what happened was I was going through my own series of shit show moments back to back, and it made me realize I think most 20 somethings are going through this. They're going through all these events, and I think it could be like a huge, I don't know, I think it could be a huge relief just for me personally, hearing other people's stories and being able to realize that I'm not the only one going through this, and that we all go through this transition period. So I decided to start it. And I've always been an avid podcast listener. I've listened to Lewis Howes and Jay Shetty, and I've listened to all of them for years, but I've never started my own. And then I realized, okay, I'm either going to start now or it's never going to happen. So I decided to start it. And it's been great. I've interviewed so many interesting people, so many different backgrounds, and learned so much from each and every person. And it's really weird how you get placed specific guests in specific times of your life. I don't know if you noticed that. You have a specific person who comes up and talks about something that you're going through at that time, or you just went through it. And it's kind of weird how it works, but I've been noticing that of how do you plan these guests around things I'm going through? But yeah, it's been really cool to see.
Right. That's really good because for sure. And everyone, if you're just tuning in, we are joined here tonight by Sophia Lorena Buesing. Did I pronounce your last name correctly?
It's Buesing.
Buesing, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Sophia Lorena.
It's German. It's hard. No one gets it right.
I have a name that's not the easiest to pronounce here, so I definitely try my best. But thank you for that. But just want to make sure that we get it out there correctly. So honestly, Sophia, I haven't been a major podcaster myself as far as listening. It really wasn't until I started my own Clay's Couch here in the past year. And Clay's Couch was thought of a long time ago, before podcasts kind of became the end thing. And before, I was just calling it just a video webcast show. That was probably the old terminology for it, especially like me. I'm doing this on video. We have an audio component as well, but for the most part, this is pretty much a video podcast for the most part, because originally this was supposed to be always in person, but COVID came when this idea was finally coming into development, and then it just became more or less a virtual podcast show, and you're able to get more guests that way anyway. So I do have an in-person podcast as well. That's geared towards a different demographic. So I have two podcasts. I have Clay's Couch, which is what you're on now, and I have another one called Queen's Court Conversations, and that's really more geared towards women professionals and such. But that's more in person. I have a female co-host who helps me lead that charge. So that's more in person, and it's actually a traveling show. So it's expensive, especially if you don't have sponsorship, which is what I'm working towards. But the virtual podcasts and live podcasts, they do offer unique feelings and perspectives and experiences for the guests that are involved, for sure. I don't know, how is your podcast always just been strictly virtual, or how's
Yeah,
that?
it's always been virtual, and I like it because I think you are able to get more guests versus trying to coordinate a time in person. And I imagine that's probably more expensive. I've never done it that way, so I like the way I'm
It
doing it
is.
because it's easier.
I would say that if you are going to do it, make sure you map it out for a special guest because if you try to do it all the time, you're gonna end up, it's if you don't have sponsorship or good backing, it's gonna be literally, it will blow your mind. So I would recommend saving it for a few select guests that just happen to be a special edition for the time
Yeah.
being. Because then you got to hunt for videographers, photographers for still photography. It ends up becoming a whole movie or TV show project. So yeah,
I would imagine. Yeah.
we have like rolling credits at the end. I'm serious. That's seriously, that's pretty much the board I'm in right now. But just to tell the audience, Sophia, where are you located? I see that you're in Castle Rock, Colorado. Now, where in Colorado is that specifically?
Yeah, so that's about like 30 minutes away from Denver. So it's
Okay.
like before Colorado Springs. It's a really nice area. I moved there a couple months ago, but prior to that, I was living in California.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Where in California are you from?
Do you know where Redondo Beach is?
Yeah, I used to live in SoCal,
Yeah.
so I know.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm from Palos Verdes, so by Redondo Beach.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I used to live in Orange County, so I know. I'm pretty
Yeah.
familiar with the land in Southern California. I live in Raleigh, Durham area of North Carolina now, but I have lived out in Northern and Southern California, respectively, years ago, for sure. I'm in my 30s, 40s now, so I probably could have a podcast called "The Shit Show of My 30s," but I don't. I don't want to steal that from you.
I hope it gets better. I'm crossing my fingers.
Right, right. Your 20s are an experience.
Yeah.
It's really a time where you really find yourself, and well, I mean, I'll put it this way: I'm still finding myself, but it's just different variations. Like you kind of really at 20s are kind of really, I would say, the end of you. I'm not gonna say end of figuring out life, but there's things like once you're in your 30s, you realize, you know what, people are just gonna be this way, or I'm not gonna let this people just talk to me a certain way. Like when I was in my working in my 20s and all, I was always, it was always thrown out to me that okay, well, one day you'll get there, or you'll get this when you get older, or enough experience. And when you realize that they're still saying that stuff in your 30s, like, okay, y'all just ages, or y'all just don't believe in me. And where I'm going with that, Sophia, is don't be afraid to take chances rub rub anyone the wrong way. Like just make moves and disrupt because
Yeah.
people will try to keep you grounded, but it's not gonna make a difference. They're gonna be like, oh, just wait till you turn 30. Like things are gonna magically change when you turn 30, right? On your 30th birthday. Which is kind of was always fed to me when I was younger. So now I'm realizing this day and age, just go after it. It's like it's all a bunch of
Yeah.
BS for sure. But I've been to Colorado a couple times. I do like the Denver area just from my experience several years ago. How have you liked living in Colorado in
I
general?
I love it. It's a difference from California. It's my first time experiencing like cold weather.
Oh wow.
So I'm adjusting to that and adjusting to like it could be kind of bipolar, the weather. Like sometimes it just out of nowhere starts snowing. And like the day before it was 80 degrees. So it's kind of all over the place. But I really like the area. I really like the people there. I really like country bars and the mountains. So I really love it. It's been good.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely liked it for sure from when I was out there. So just in general, if we're just looking at everything with your professional life, where is it in your professional path are you trying to go? I see that obviously you're in sales. Is that something that you're looking to do more of, or maybe another avenue in your life down the road? What does that look like if you could walk me through?
Yeah, well, I really like where I'm at right now. I recently joined a company and I really love them. Like I really love like the company. I really love all the people on my team. Like, it's been a different experience than my past jobs, and it's been really great. And in terms of like long term, I don't know, I see myself staying with this company for a long time. I see myself growing with this company. I personally love sales because of how many different people you get to talk to and how many different personality types and like how different it is. So I love it. And in the future, I would love my podcast to expand and be able to do things with that at the same time. I would love to do Airbnbs, something with my podcast and sales at the same time in the future. I could see myself doing that. But yeah.
Airbnb, you said?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you want to be like a super Airbnb host?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. I've been seeing that kind of be trendy lately. I mean, of course, people have always have been Airbnb hosts, but now I'm seeing like people really trying to like cash in and capitalize on that as of late. So
Yeah.
that's something I'll even probably try to explore as well. I've never have even stayed in the Airbnb technically. So yeah, I've only just stayed in hotels my whole life. I've never really quite trusted Airbnbs. Like, I don't know. I'll probably do it one day, like if it's a log cabin or a timeshare, but till then, I kind of I kind of just like regular hotel life still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I kind of like trying something different because, like, in the hotels, it's kind of the same thing, like it's not really different amenities. Like, some of the hotels are kind of boring. So I kind of like trying something different, having more space. It's kind of nice to be able to experience. So,
Gotcha. So, well, as far as like, just tell us your background. What were you doing like before? Obviously, you did this podcast and working at sales. Like, what was your, I guess your early. How old are you now? If you don't mind my asking.
I'm 21.
Oh, okay, okay, gotcha, gotcha. So, what was college like for you? Where did you go to college, and what did you study? What was that
Yeah,
experience
so I never went to college. So I started
like? Okay,
working in corporate at 18. I started off as a loan officer. I did that for a few years, and then April came around, and then a bunch of layoffs happened, and I got laid off in April. And then I decided, I'm going to use LinkedIn to get a job. So then I started using like LinkedIn jobs and started using like networking and using that to get interviews. And I was surprised how effective that was because I never really used LinkedIn to get a job before. So I decided to try that. And then I ended up getting my job now. And it was really interesting because I had a post go viral on LinkedIn before that happened. So I
oh,
had a
really?
post about me getting laid off that went viral.
Yeah,
And that's what got me to look into like the tech industry was like all these people were telling me like you need to look at tech industry, you need to look at the sales jobs in the tech industry. And that would be a good thing because we're right now with all the rates going up and all the volume going down, it's not a good industry to be in. So that's why I got advice from all these people and I was like, okay, I'll go look into this. And then my current job, I was surprised because I actually got hired within 4 days. So that was actually nice. Like from like the first interview to like the last one, it was within 4 days.
well,
And
that's
like,
good.
oh yeah, that was really good because like all these other companies I was going for, their process took like 2 to 3 weeks and it was all drawn out and you never knew if you make it to the second stage until like like 3 days 5 days later, so
Yeah, yeah, it
yeah.
happens. Sometimes it happens real quickly. Other times it's you go through like a series. I've always disliked the interviews where, okay, they make it seem like it's going to be a real quick process, and then next week, it's okay. Well, join us next week where you can be interviewed by several other people. And then after that, we're gonna do a whole other round of people. It's like it's all like the same redundant questions. I'm like, oh my God. It's like, come on, like that is just brutal. Well, we just want to make sure you're a right fit for the culture. And I'm just like, look, if it's gonna take 10 people to come to a consensus, then there's something wrong with y'all's culture. I've come to finally realize that if it's taking like 10 people over a month for a position that doesn't ultimately pay that all that much, then there's just something wrong
Yeah.
overall. And I've noticed, and I haven't done this, but the hashtag open to work green banner on LinkedIn, that's been real trendy on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
Um, I see it for some people, but I do think that, and you could definitely feel free to weigh on your opinion on this. but I definitely see it being used way too loosey goosey for some folks. Like even folks who are well suited and have jobs or well established, it's like they have it up. But I'm like, oh, I'm just open to new opportunities. Well, I think that's really only for people who are absolutely or like unemployed, like they need like an opportunity like ASAP. I don't know. But you just tell me your thoughts on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's helpful. I used it when I was working, waiting for another opportunity after I got laid off, and it did bring a lot of interviews in. So I think it is super helpful. I think some people do use it because they're in a job that they don't like and they want to go into another job, which I think there's nothing wrong with that. You know, they're just communicating like I'm open. And I think if they don't do that, people would probably pass them by. So I do understand doing that. But yeah, it makes sense because if you don't do that, then people don't necessarily know that you're open to employment. And then they're probably not let you know about that job that's open, that's maybe not posted on the job board.
Mm. Yeah. It's just that I just feel is I think if you're on LinkedIn to begin with, you're kind of always in a state of being open to work. It's kind of really the original intention of LinkedIn to begin with, because I remember LinkedIn from way back when, and it's gone through intervals. It went through completely a job searching site. It was more like Indeed a long time ago, and then it went through a period where it was acquired by Microsoft, and there's a lot of things you couldn't do on it, and a lot of features were changed. But then it kind of went back to how it used to be from the get go when I started using it like about 10 years ago. I would say that now it does seem like it's kind of becoming, this is just my honest opinion again, it's becoming another big tech platform like Facebook and social media where people are posting and using it like they do the traditional social media sites. And I mean, it technically is a social media site. Let's be very clear about that. But I believe now that it's almost, I'm afraid of it becoming bot driven, and the where it's kind of losing its original focus of being a career platform or a job search platform, instead of people giving these philosophical stories about their employment or anything like that. I mean, it's good, but again, it just feels like a lot of people are now kind of using it as a traditional social media platform. Again, that's just my observation on that. Hey, people want a voice about how they don't like where they're at or their career path. That's good. I just feel as though it's a slippery slope to having. I just don't want LinkedIn to go down the rabbit holes that Facebook did, where it starts becoming a platform of misinformation or disinformation, and we all know what comes from that. So yeah, because I just don't want to be to a point where people think they're getting. It's probably already happening. Let's just say somebody thinks they're going to get a good opportunity and ends up being a complete scam, and the person's not even the person's on the internet not real. And I just think we just got to be careful with LinkedIn, and not letting it become too, I guess, tradition, like too much like Facebook in some degree. Pretty big analysis there.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I like it. I like the amount of organic reach it has. I like the people. I feel like the people are more positive on LinkedIn than other social media platforms. So I like it. I like the people. I like how you're able to see the same people over and over again. I like how you're able to see other people's comments. So it kind of like keeps other people at top of mind and you can kind of see people all the time. I like the community feel of it, but yeah.
Gotcha there.
Yeah.
So as far as going back to your podcast, how many episodes have you had just overall so far?
I believe it's 162 or 163.
Okay. And have they all, as you were alluding to earlier, have they all kind of carried a consistent theme of just individuals who you feel as though have stories to tell or stories to help you out with? Is it all kind of maintained that?
Yeah, it's all pretty much people who have some of them, a lot of them have like different backgrounds, but all of them, I like ask them a question about like the shit show of their 20s, and then I go into their careers and like different successes and what they've learned. And it's more personal development focused, but
That's
it's been
good.
like that, like the whole 163 episodes. So yeah.
And how often do you have your episodes occur? Is it weekly, monthly, or
Every Monday, pretty much.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you should have me on as a guest. I could definitely tell you some stories about my 20s, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to do more episodes like at the beginning because I had more time, so I would do more episodes, but it's a lot of work editing episodes and putting episodes together. And yeah, so I do pretty much everything. So it's a lot, but yeah.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. You got to learn to outsource to get help after a while because it will become a lot. So
Yeah.
for sure. And what platforms do you have it? Do you have it through Spotify, Apple Tunes, or where's it at exactly?
Yeah, so I'm pretty much everywhere. I'm at Apple, Google Podcast, Spotify, like pretty much all of them. So
Okay, okay, gotcha. So if you were to, what would you say was your best guess that you've had, in particularly?
that's a really always a hard question to
Really?
answer because there's like so many that you like. One of the ones really loved recently was Edwin Carrion. He was really
Okay.
good, as well as Eric. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Eric. He used to speak on the stage with Tony Robbins, and he had a really interesting story, as well as I don't know. There's a part I love of like all the episodes, so it's kind of really hard to pick, but those are some of my favorites.
Oh, okay. That's good for sure. And is there one where you're just like, nah, this is this is probably not the best? Now we'll spare you from
Yeah, I'm not
that.
going to say that one.
For sure. But yeah, I would say just from my experiences, you have great shows and you have shows where you just wish that they just could have gone better. But one thing I would say is just maintaining, okay, why are you doing this? What's the purpose? So Clay's Couch here is a free form show. So we could talk about any topic. So I've had journalists on talking about journalism. I've had uh, candidates running for office, political office. Business people, sales coaches, even art, just about any category. And it's a free form. It's a free form show by nature. So I always try to keep it up with that spirit. But it it could be a lot to maintain. I do have outside editing help, so I used to do it almost all exclusively myself, but then I just started. I worked with a radio station at one point doing it, and then now I'm with now with a YouTube channel. So that's more chance it goes through. I'm looking once I take a summer break to come back in the fall and have it on Google Podcasts, Apple, Spotify, and all that, in addition to YouTube. At least having the audio portion there for sure. Yep, definitely. But I would just say that like just going forward, what would you like the dream? What's the dream of the podcast? You mentioned it earlier, but where would you like for it to be as far as audience or maybe content going forward?
Yeah, so I would love to like host in person like events and retreats. So I'd love to have like a retreat in Greece and have some people who are on the podcast speak there and have all these little workshops and all this stuff. And I'd love to have a bigger audience. I think we would all love
Yeah.
that. As well as like I'd love to have like some of the people that I've always looked up to on it, like some of the big personal development names like Tony Robbins and like Ed Milet. Like I'd love to have some of those big people on it as well. And yeah, that's what I'd love to see happen. And yeah, I've always loved live events. I've been to so many live
Yeah, me
events.
too.
So, and we were all craving live events after COVID.
Yes.
So we all need to get out there. So
Yeah, yeah, I'm actually going to a podcast conference this weekend, and surprisingly, they have one Memorial Weekend. They have actually had two. It's in Orlando. It's called Podcast Fest, so I'm definitely going to that, and I'm going to a few more in the year as well. I've never been to a podcast event before, so I've gone to obviously sales marketing conferences and many other types, but never specifically one on podcasts alone. So this will be interesting to be a fresh start. So what type of workshops were you kind of thinking of for your possible events? That sounds like a
Yeah.
good idea.
Yeah. I love like vision board workshops or like something. I love woo woo. So something like manifestation, something like goal setting, something like maybe going into, let's say they have problems in a certain area, going into that. Love like meditation, tapping. I love all of those things. So I love a way to incorporate all of those into like a week long or like 2 week long event.
Okay, and you would say Greece. That's already you already got a good
I
mindset there. I might need to sign up for that whenever you have it.
Yeah, I haven't been to Greece yet, but I really want to go. So that's why.
I've never been to Greece either. I feel like everyone I've known has gone to Greece. I even had a cousin who recently went there. I even made a joke on social media or on Instagram saying, I feel like I'm the only person who has to go to Greece this year. But
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That sounds very good. But yeah, I definitely do wish you much great success for your podcast as well, Sophia, and in your sales career. Sounds like you have a very good vision and path ahead. But I think that concludes our time here for now, as we have a hard stop coming up. But just tell the audience how they could best follow you on social media and your podcast as well. If you could just tell them how they can do that.
Yeah. So my Instagram's the shit show of my 20s. And there I have all my podcast links. You can find it on Apple, Google, it's pretty much everywhere. And yeah, I'd love to connect with anyone. And my DMs are always open.
Okay, well, wonderful. Well, thank you again, Sophia, for joining Clay's Couch tonight, and look forward to staying in touch with you.
Too.
All
Thank
right.
you.